What it do though? It's your boy Kev, and we about to get into some woke shit today. Um, Sorry I've been gone. Haven't been as consistent as I would have liked to have been, but I'm back, and ain't nothing to it but to do it. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, today's video is on the topic of not all men. Hashtag not all men. Um, you've probably heard that phrase. If you're watching this video, chances are you're not new to these conversations. So you've heard the phrase, but we'll get into a little backstory. So to start here, I checked the wiki. I be on Wikipedia heavy, as well as other sources, but I do like Wikipedia. And they had a quote from a Charles Dickens book, The Pickwick Papers, which I've never read, from 1836. And character Miss Wardle said, "Men are such deceivers." And Mr. Tupman replies, they are, but not all men." So that's like a perfect springboarding into this conversation. I just thought that was an interesting quote, the fact that that was used in that context so long ago. So anyway, not all men. So if you're online and a lot of spaces, you'll hear conversations about feminism, womanism, society in general. This can apply in a lot of different scenarios, but typically it'll be in, more feminist, womanist leading spaces, but not always. And there'll be discussions about the ills of men, where we fuck up, whether it be an individual person, like a celebrity's fuck up, or, a societal fuck up that we've done, or, even just a cultural standard that is sort of understood across, and again, I'm speaking to black folk. This does apply in other cultures and, in general, for gender relations, but again, I'm speaking to niggas because I'm niggas. So anyway, yeah, you'll see conversations, and it can range from something minor, men be cheating, men are cheaters, men are liars, all men want to do is fuck. It can get into very serious conversations about sexual abuse, domestic violence, rape, very serious topics. And where the not all men thing comes in is every time you see these conversations, folks aren't putting the level of qualifiers you might like. In a perfect world, I suppose everyone would say some men, most men, a large percentage of men. They'd go look up the stats and post like 36.4% of men. In a perfect world, I guess you could say, everyone would qualify their statements to be as accurate as possible, or to maybe not offend people. But that is not going to happen all the time. I'd argue that sort of rarely happens. One interesting, I was talking to one of my homegirls about this, and she's got to get on a video with me one day soon. But anyway, we were talking about like the origins of not all men, and when like the discourse, especially in the black community, for gender issues begin to really change. It's hard to call it, obviously these conversations have been happening since way before I was born, but I guess in my lifetime, I turn 30 tomorrow, interesting factoid, but in the discourse, I remember not all white people being a thing at a certain point, and it was just kind of commonly understood, like, yo, when we're talking about white people, if you're not a white person that fits into that category, or if you're trying to dismantle what we're discussing, you shouldn't feel offended. Every time we're talking about racism and white supremacy, we're not always talking about every specific white person. At least most folks. There are some folks that are, more hardline, or, depending on the topic, more accurate. But anyway, I sort of remember that being a thing. And then not all men coming soon afterwards, as like a, part of the zeitgeist, part of the like cultural understanding. And yeah, again, just, my little observation on when this started. Not really too long ago, 10, 15 years maybe even. So moving on from that, right? You see these conversations, you wish people would put qualifiers on statements, especially about men. So to start, why people, usually men, though there will be some women, say not all men. It's commonly just understood that, they're being defensive, they're a hit dog hollering, and that's the first thing I got here on my list. And that's often true, whether it's like directly feeling like a hit dog, like, yo, they're talking about niggas that do this, and I do this, and I feel the need to respond and defend myself because it's not the way you think it is, or I'm not doing it because of what you're saying, or, your reasoning's wrong, whatever the case. Or, I might not do that thing per se, but I think that practice or standard or idea, whatever, is defensible, so I'm just going to defend it. So that's like the most common reason. That's the most assumed reason, and it kind of annoys me because that's not always why dudes are responding. Not all men. But that's, again, I'd say one of the most common reasons. All that said, moving on. The argument not being accurate is the second reason that I have on my list here for men saying not all men. If you're saying men are cheaters, well, we're like literally not all cheaters. So that statement is like literally factually incorrect. You could say some men are cheaters, and that would be accurate. And the accuracy thing, I'll get into that later when I piss that side of this conversation off, because I'm gonna piss everybody off in this video, I'm sure. So yeah, sometimes folks are going off on men, and that shit be wrong, straight up, or misguided, or the reasons that they think the niggas do shit is wrong. And you might want to clarify that for the sake of, maybe you just want to derail shit, or a lot of times I think dudes want to have conversations and they might individually feel like they're not able to because it's starting from an unfair place. So it's starting from the premise that I ain't shit, then and you already know why, you've decided why I ain't shit, you've decided I ain't never gonna be shit, and none of us care. What point is me arguing? But if you want to say, hey, no, I was only saying some, then maybe there's a way for, a more broad conversation. So anyway, moving on. Third reason why people say not all men, I think people be annoyed. You see these conversations pretty much every day, especially if you're on the same social media platform. You might see the same people, maybe the same arguments. Every time a celebrity thing happens, a certain argument will come back. Oh, now we're talking about colorism again. We're talking about how niggas only want to date light skin. You know what I'm saying? It can feel, I get it, it can be a lot, especially if you're having a bad day. Especially if like a woman just did you wrong, like last week, like, yo, this chick just stole my credit card and shit. You know what I mean? Like, y'all hoes ain't shit either. So, that being annoyed at conversations for various reasons is a thing. And then the final thing, and this is like the worst case scenario, I think the reason why you making a not all men like argument will piss people off is because they're assuming that you're just trying to derail shit. And that happens a lot too. That's, even though it's last, I think that from what I see anecdotally, that's a good half the time. A lot of the time niggas is just, either not mentally capable at the time of actually having a rational conversation on a topic. So it's just like, let's not talk about that, and let's just, get into the weeds of why you were just, or they might get it and they just don't want to talk about it for whatever reason, or they're just trolling. That's another thing you got to consider. Motherfuckers just be trolling. Just, they like to see the world burn and all that Joker-like shit. So yeah, I guess I'll end this little why people say not all men statement or portion by saying, it's easy to just say, oh, he's a hit dog hollering, or easy to just dismiss. I want more dialogue across the board. If you get hit with the not all men, who am I to tell you to, you know, peel apart their argument or consider them. But I think in a lot of cases, being real, dudes get shut down trying to have real conversations because it looks just like they're trying to derail. And a lot of that is a function of, you know, by the time some rational and, you know, emotionally intelligent dudes get the conversations, ashy niggas already been up and through that conversation, you know, screaming loud as fuck, cussing women out, you know what I'm saying? So by the time your rational ass get there, she might not have no energy for that. You know what I'm saying? It just be like that sometimes. So my second segment here, because I'm trying to keep it moving, is there a way to not all men a conversation without derailing or being an ass? Generally, the safest answer is no. You know, if you don't feel like you can either agree or, you know, like, I guess getting into the chance that you might be able to, you know, insert some nuance into a conversation or just flat out correct someone. I mean, there's definitely a way. This goes back to something that I'll say in like pretty much every video, understanding where people's coming from, and more importantly, if someone's going off about an offense to an oppressed group, you know, women, LGBT folks, you know, dark-skinned people, specifically dark-skinned women, if we're talking like colorism, you know, black people, you know, talking about racism with white people. Like, if you're in the power position, which, you know, if you don't understand intersectionality, that's another video that's coming, but, you know, if you're in the power position, then you should do every bit of due diligence to make sure you're not derailing a conversation about some real shit. Let's just get dark immediately in this video. You know, if a woman's saying, yo, I don't feel safe, this is a common argument that I see, or common conversation. I don't feel safe around men. You know, when there was just a post going around, you know, name 3 men you feel safe around. A lot of women named 3 men or more, you know. A couple women said, no, I have a bunch of men in my life that I trust, that I would, you know, be alone with, and I would never have any fear of anything untoward happening. A lot of women as well said, I can name maybe 1 or 2, maybe my dad, maybe my brother, maybe my husband, or my boyfriend, whatever, but outside of them, few people, I don't trust none of these niggas, because these niggas be rapists. And like the statement might just end there, right? It's easy to be like, well, yo, I'm not a rapist. If I was in a room with you, I wouldn't touch you. I would completely respect your autonomy. But you gotta understand the topic you're talking about. You know what I'm saying? You really gotta understand the topic you're talking about. And as you climb down the ladder of, you know, severity, I still think that, again, if you're in the power position, if you're from the less oppressed or not oppressed class, depending on the context, you should really, really consider jumping in to alter a conversation that might not be about you or for you. That's straight up. Another reoccurring theme that you'll see in a lot of my videos is just like niggas. Like, we could just leave women alone in a lot of contexts and just let shit go. You know what I'm saying? Like, I imagine a magical day on social media where no man will tweet or post anything negative about women, where no men will jump in some woman's inbox with a dick pic, or, you know what I'm saying, just with some bullshit where, you know, if just one day niggas just scrolled past all the shit we didn't feel like engaging with or we disagree with, from women specifically, and LGBT folks as well. That's like a quarter of the issue. You know what I'm saying? Everybody would be so peaceful that day. You know, niggas would have less arguments and less drama, and there'll be less division. And I will say one thing as well on this, when it comes to, like, is there a way to, what you call, insert nuance into a conversation without derailing or being an ass? As the less oppressed person in a conversation, you have the onus on you. It's as simple as that. Like, a black woman could be dead wrong. I'm not gonna pretend like every time I'm gonna let her slide. There's times I'll be like, sis, you wildin', you bugging. But for the most part, I'm gonna be like, yo, she just on one, and one of the elder sisters will check her at some point. That ain't my place. You know what I'm saying? I think the few, like, specifically realistic times where it's valid to, like, really go on some, like, yo, nah, like, not all of us, like, you bugging shit, is if you're, like, directly attacked. Like, if you make an innocent post, and you gotta know what an innocent post is. Like, if you, I think this black woman is ugly. That's an opinion. It might be a harmless opinion, but you're gonna get, you know, you're gonna bring backlash with that. If you make a post like, yo, Rice Krispies are a dope ass snack, and a sister comes on like, see, that's what's wrong with you niggas. Nah, sis, you gonna have to chill. You know what I'm saying? Like, we talk about Rice Krispies, like, it's not, you know. But nah, in that segment of, you know, is there a way to, you know, as a man, as a black man, steer these conversations in the way that you think they should? There probably isn't. There probably isn't, bro. And, you know, if there's one thing that niggas take from this video, you know, if you end up watching this, bro, just scroll past sometimes. Or, you know, I talk about these things as if they're mostly or all online. But to be clear, in real life, too, sometimes, like, go in another room. Or, you know what I mean? Don't jump into that circle. Don't jump into that group chat. You know what I'm saying? Like, leave sis alone. There's no need to try to always feel that you're in the position to steer the conversation the way that it should go. So this is the part that's I guess fun, because this is where I piss all the people that were like, yes, he is spitting. Now I'm gonna piss y'all off really quickly. Let me take a sip. I'm gonna like the gas too, to be honest with you. All right, so in defense of saying not all men, or in defense of not all men, so there are a lot of times when these conversations, and I mentioned this earlier, motherfuckers just be dead ass wrong, right? But more, not even just about right or wrong, because in a large percentage of cases, there's realistic, data-driven information out there that'll back up what oppressed people are saying. It's just, you know, it might seem like women or LGBT folks are just complaining online, but there's like real shit going on that we all know about. You know, we know that, you know, I don't have the numbers in front of me about how many deadbeat dads there are. I know that there are some studies that have shown different things. Like, hey, you know, black men are, when they are involved, the most involved in their raising of the kids. Whatever. You know, there are enough niggas not raising their kids for women to be mad about it. Straight up. There are enough trans women being murdered. Or not even just, you know, trans women being murdered. Trans people being excluded and made fun of and not defended in the community. To the point that, you know, even if it's not you, the conversation is valid without your ass. You know what I mean? And that goes for a bunch of different things. Again, this the most serious ones: sexual assault, domestic violence, rape, you know, and then not taking care of family. And then it gets interesting when you get into dating stuff. That's, you know, a lot more subjective, let's just say. But we still got a lot of work to do. Niggas still be tripping when it comes to dating. Dudes don't be committing, dudes be lying, cheating. You know what I'm saying? We all know what the hell goes down, right? So those conversations are valid, right? I think what happens is when you find your people that agree with you, that, you know, see these, whatever the topic may be, that sees the truth in your argument and backs you up, and y'all click up, right? And you start to build your circle, whether it be on social media or real life, whatever. We kind of bake into our biases, right? Like, we just, you know, I haven't been in like a conversation with like a racist motherfucker. Like, I've been on posts and someone says something racist and it's like, oh shit, we're about to drag his ass for being fucking stupid. You know what I mean? But I haven't like actually been in a real conversation with a racist person in like mad long, or at least an openly, overtly racist person. I'm sure I've spoken to fellow people that are racist that just, you know, haven't like been calling someone a nigger right there. But I say that to say, I talk as if everyone that I interact with knows that like white supremacy is like the biggest ill this country has, and is essentially the root of most, if not all, of our problems, along with capitalism, patriarchy, you know, religion, puritanical views spawning from that. I speak to people as if they already agree with me on that. So if you're like, well, no, what do you mean? White supremacy isn't just systemic. It's like, my nigga, what? Like, so when you're in your bubble, you know, you tend to get to the point where you don't even feel that the other side is worth a thought. You know, it's not even worth, like, why would I even debate the bullet points of this with you when I already know I'm right, and everyone else in society that's paying attention knows I'm right. So again, on a lot of issues, it's that stark. Like, the oppressed people are correct, you as the oppressor in this context are incorrect. However, when we talk about like echo chambers, certain levels of polite discourse begin to degrade over time, to the point where it's just like, you might start off like, yo, you know, like when we first got woke, it's like everyone's all, you know, professorial with the shit, like, you know, yes, you know, black men really need to stand up and do more in the community. After 5-6 years of arguing with ashy niggas, your own pain, seeing people you love's pain, seeing celebrity situations that match what you see in real life, seeing ashy niggas online, etc., etc., eventually it's like, yo, fuck these niggas, man, these niggas trash, and I don't have time to be going back and forth or protecting their feelings. And that's fair and that's valid, but you have to understand that while you are not at all the root cause of why these conversations are often derailed, or often, the most important point is most often not reaching the people that really need to hear them, and getting to them, you're not also helping the discourse, which might not be your aim at all. You might say like, yo, there's not shit I can say to these niggas, you know, this is for me and other women or other, you know, LGBT people that feel where I'm coming from and that agree. If you're a man or a cis person who agrees, then you can, you know, come over here and chill. But we saying these motherfuckers is trash and we not qualifying shit. I don't know. I wish that wasn't the case. You know, I wish that we all had the spoons to put those qualifiers on statements, partially for the sake of, you know, wanting good dialogue. You know, hopefully a brother might be like, you know, yeah, you're right, some of these niggas do be tripping. That same dude might say, oh, men are, and slightly tune out or slightly be defensive. That might not invite the most, or if he does respond, it's going to be on it like, all right, I already know I'm coming in being attacked, so let me attack, you know, essentially first. Let me strike first. Or in their mind, let me retaliate because I've been attacked, because I'm a man. They said men do this, I'm a man, I don't do this, they're wrong, so now the battle's on. He might do that anyway. You know, you could be as nice as you want, and chances are some idiot will do that anyway. I hate when I see a post where, you know, somebody be like, yo, some of these dudes do X, a lot of these other dudes don't check them on it, you know, and they're using the qualifiers, they're, you know, trying to be empathetic to why dudes might be doing this shit, and then some ashy ass nigga just comes in there like, oh, whatever, blah, 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 and just dismisses it. And it's like, fuck, well, you know, that's the chance for honest discourse from you, my brother. Like, you know, you've lowered that for everyone else, essentially, because they might not do that again. But again, this section is about, in defense of saying not all men, and then also to the people that make these arguments why I think we should try to, and let me just say this, right? This is for myself as well. There's brothers that I've seen on YouTube, right? And they are going off on niggas, right? And I go in the comments, and it's mostly black women or black LGBT folks that already agree with me. As soon as someone comes in just slightly, you know, for whatever reason, not agreeing or, you know, splitting a hair somewhere, they're getting ripped to shreds in the comments, right? And like, I learned that way over time, but that's not the best way to reach people, especially niggas that, you know, like, niggas don't be reading Alice Walker, be like, niggas is not out here just intersectional as fuck. And counter argument to that might be like, well, bitch, I am, like, they have Google too, and that's fair, you know. It sounds like I'm capitulating on this, but I just want better dialogue. I feel like, you know, I personally, I try to curate my space that I have a good balance. You know, there's some times where, you know, there's some hard line motherfuckers on my Facebook, you know, much love to them. And I can, you know, a lot of times I be agreeing with most of the stuff they be saying, so it's like, okay, cool, like, you know. But sometimes I don't want to see nothing but that on my timeline, straight up. So I try to have a balance of some hardline motherfuckers that kind of keep me like, yo, if I get a little too ashy over here, like, they mutual. So, like, you know, it's a little bit of check and balance. But then the majority of my social media is just chill people that are generally not trash. You know, there's a general level of respect for oppressed people, general level of discourse and understanding of historical context and all that good jazz. And folks just living not trash, and not living to always school trash motherfuckers. You know what I'm saying? The final thing I'll say on this is, you know, on this part of the conversation, I don't know, we have to have, there has to be both, you know, the men or the cis people that really need to be reached are probably not going to engage with someone outright yelling at their ass, calling them trash. It's just flat out not going to happen. So there has to be counter voices, right? There has to be, you know, the carrot and the stick, so to speak, you know. I want to be the carrot. I volunteer to be the motherfucking carrot, you know. Especially amongst men, there's not enough of us, you know. Dudes are either full out ashy, full out unengaged from the conversation, and they just playing 2K and not even checking on none of the shit, or they're hard line and they, you know, and if you're gonna do the hard line thing as a man, I have this thing where, like, you got to do that around men, bruh, because if you're just gonna do that in spaces with people that agree with you, then at what point are you just clout chasing? You know what I'm saying? I could have redid my channel a completely different way and gotten probably more views and shit, you know. I could probably have less risk of pissing people off if I just go hard line and just be like, yo, 20-minute videos about why niggas is trash. You know what I'm saying? Like, I could do that shit, but again, I think that discourse is what's going to win here, and the more tight the circles of that discourse, the more real you can get with those people that really need to be reached. You know, you're not going to walk in a barbershop calling niggas trash and, like, actually change anyone's mind, let alone get out without getting punched in your shit, depending on how that convo goes. You know what I'm saying? You're not going to, you know, it's a better way to pull your homie aside, like, yo, bruh. And this goes for women too, you know. Again, a lot of niggas is not finna learn that way. And ultimately, while it's not your responsibility to lead the conversation, it should be us. At the end of the day, you are a part of the conversation too. Those ashy niggas are also a part of the conversation. And, you know, the cheesy shit wins, man. We gotta come together. And I think, again, for those of us that have the spoons to take some of the heat off of some of these statements, for the sake of, number one, being accurate, because one thing this section is going on longer than I like. We're at 30 minutes, but hey, it is what it is. Sometimes you're just factually wrong, even though the idea of what you're saying, like, yo, these niggas not raising their kids. Like, yeah, the implied some, you know, that you've heard, like, oh, well, like, you should know I'm not obviously talking about all. You should know I mean some. Well, it's like, by you not saying some, my nigga, like, you're literally factually wrong. And that gives niggas an easy out. Now, if you put the some niggas are gonna still wiggle out of that too. It is what it is. You know, it's just gonna happen. But I don't know. I guess for me, I don't feel like some of these things need to be so hyperbolic. I think some of these conversations can be a little hyperbolic, but the root shit at the root of it is so real that it doesn't need to be exaggerated. You know, and that statement right there might, you know, get some niggas like, what are we exaggerating, Kev, huh? What the fuck are we exaggerating? Some of this shit y'all exaggerating. You know what I'm saying? Again, depending very specifically on the topic. And you ain't finna convince them niggas. And again, I've said this in previous videos, probably say it more. Every conversation isn't meant to lecture niggas, or not lecture, but isn't meant to teach. You know, sometimes people are ranting just because other people who are dealing with this behavior or this topic might need to be snapped out of it. Like, hey, yo, don't let these niggas cheat on you, because that's what these niggas do. Sister might be like, you know, you're right, these niggas do cheat. Let me call this nigga and, like, you know, and whatever, you know, she might be inspired by that. Or, you know, it might help protect someone that didn't know that or didn't look at it that way. Or it might just be to vent and to vibe with other people that are venting on that thing, you know? And in those cases, yeah, like, I'm not gonna say some when I'm venting and getting some shit off my chest. I get it. So now that I've pissed the people that I'm really agreeing with off, let me get y'all back on my side and get at these niggas real quick. So to end this whole thing, man, I titled this "Why You Should Shut Up and Listen." One of the major themes, said it earlier in the video, I'll say it 1,000 times, is sometimes you just gotta shut up and listen, scroll past, walk past, go in the other room and play 2K, think about that shit, come back tomorrow. I say this as advice that I'm still learning and I'm still trying to apply as much as I can in my life. You know, sometimes you don't have the responsibility of correcting the conversation or being accurate. Like, oh, these motherfuckers are just crazy and they just wilding out and they angry, so I feel like I need to go. Like, no, you don't need to step in. You know, sometimes you can, you know, maybe mute their ass for 30 days, maybe unfollow, maybe just scroll past, you know. And again, why do I say that? Like, am I being a bitch? You know what I'm saying? I'm scared to argue with people. I'm scared to argue with women or gay people. You know, like, no, it's not a fear. Like, you know, intellectually, if I get into a in-depth conversation, I can handle myself, right? Physically, I'm not scared. Like, I can fight. You know what I'm saying? But it's out of respect. It's out of respect, partially for the people, but more so for the dialogue. You know, I try to keep the onus on myself to carry a certain air when I move. And I don't know, I just don't want to go around derailing conversations about real ass shit affecting more oppressed people than I am. And it's just kind of as simple as that. So in conclusion, while a lot of times I feel like saying, yo, it's not all of us, some of us hear you, like, I'm here for you, I'll fight for you, I'm listening. Sometimes you just gotta let that shit go, let it ride, you know what I'm saying? Let it be all men for the sake of that conversation. And then the final point I have here, this is pretty much to black men. I think that when I see these conversations, right, wherever I see them, I think about how that topic applies to me, and then I think about the women in my life. My wife, my daughter, mom-in-law, my homegirls, my extended family of friends, you know what I'm saying? Or friends of family, all of that good jazz. I think about how they interact with me. I think about the level of trust they have in me. I think about, like, yo, I got women in my life that come to me with their problems. That's like an honor. You know what I'm saying? I have women in my life that, you know, come to me about my problems or that are willing to help me. I'm lucky because I know there's some ain't shit women out here that brothers is tied in with, and they might not be getting that love, and that's a shame. But I'm lucky enough to have that level of love in my life where, you know, when a day on social media gets rough, I remember after Tory punk ass shot Meg, right? There was a good day there where, and this happens all the time. I mean, I don't think, you know, if niggas are scared to say this because they too woke or they afraid of getting dragged, whatever, that's just you being pussy. Like, you know, sometimes the shit gets overwhelming. Sometimes like, all right, I get it. I don't want to see this shit no more. Like, and you might be triggered to like start, you know, make a post or to go off. I don't know, man. I try to think about my family and the women in my life, and, you know, not even just the women, because there's a couple LGBT folks in my life that are close to me. I could definitely use more, but I don't get out much. But, you know, my trans homeboys, okay, something about recording. The people in my life that matter to me, you know, if I'm getting that love from them and they're not coming at me like, yo, you are trash for this, then that's where I leave it, you know. Find that love in your life as men so that you can do your part where you can locally and not be triggered to try to fight for all of us, because all of us ain't worth fighting for. But I am, and you are. So do your thing where you can. Focus on the local, on the micro, and hopefully if enough of us begin to, you know, there's a lot of brothers just doing their thing. They're going to work, coming home, not hurting nobody, right? But the more we get loud with these conversations, the more we check other dudes, and the more we become the right examples, then, you know, hopefully the macro conversations start to change. But don't jump into that macro conversation, number one, if your micro shit ain't in order. And number two, don't jump in thinking that your micro shit is going to solve it for everyone. You know, a woman saying that niggas ain't shit in California, there's like literally nothing I can do to prove otherwise. You know what I'm saying? So all that said, thank you for listening. Appreciate you being here. And check your boy out, man. Like, share, subscribe, comment, you know. Give me suggestions for topics you want to cover. If you want to collaborate on a video, jump on with me. Definitely we could do it. Other than that, much love. Appreciate it.